What do you guys know? I'm actually coming to you today with a mic that isn't total dog dookie. Hey! So, I said I'd make this video a while ago, but alas, life is taking hold, and, well, I can't do everything at once. And I did try to record, but I kind of felt like I needed to do a re recording to better illustrate what I want to talk about today. And that's how autism affects me as an adult. And, well, autism today isn't quite the struggle it was when I was a kid. I no longer have that problem where I just simply can't focus. Instead, I'd rather just struggle focusing, yet I still maintain that ability to do so. Now, this ability becomes a lot stronger if I'm, per se, in a job. Now, granted, that doesn't mean I'm perfect. That just means I have the ability to actually focus on the job that I am doing. And I can still be a very outstanding employee at that. However, where I struggle in a job is more along the lines of ADHD, and I have a hard time focusing on just one thing. So it's not entirely autism that creates that struggle. It's more of a mix of already there mental problems because, I'm the full package. Now, where I struggle with autism is more along the lines of my emotion and how easily I get stressed out. Now, throughout my life, I made a lot of horrible decisions, very stupid decisions, and tried to fix those decisions through stupid means. Now, I've gotten a lot better these past few months. I have been able to really work on myself, especially these past few weeks that I've came back to my mom's. I'm able to, I don't know how to quite say this, but handle myself better, for lack of better term. Now, oftentimes when I get upset, well, not just when I'm upset, but when it comes to stressful situations, particularly when life really gives me lemons and just squeezes them into my throat, I start to pile on my issues and focus on everything at once rather than just try to separate all my problems and work on it one at a time. So, what usually ends up happening when I'm stressed out in these positions is that ooh, my thoughts start to stack and stack and stack and stack. And I'm like, I got this. I got this. I can handle everything. But then in the mix of these big life issues comes a bunch of little problems. And with all these little problems, and these could just be like minor inconveniences. I stubbed my toe, my kid won't stop screaming, I'm stuck behind this person that's driving 5 miles or 10 miles under the gosh dang speed limit. So, what happens in those cases when those minor thoughts start to overlap the bigger thoughts is that Well, it's exactly what I just said. They start to overlap, and these overlapping thoughts begin to stack on top of each other. And my mind speeds through all these thoughts, all of them, like it's just some kind of flip note studio. And this usually gets me extremely overwhelmed, sometimes to the point where I'm on the floor and I'm just bashing my head in, or I'm hitting myself repeatedly. And these aren't things you want to resort to as, a father that could teach my kid a lot of bad habits if, she is to see that. And she has on some occasions seen it, and being the 2-year old she is, repeated them. Which is why in the past few weeks I've been a lot better at that. Now, you may be asking, hey, I have that problem too. How do you, how are you getting better? Well, let me explain. I first of all learned breathing exercises. I breathe. And, maybe this doesn't always work, and, that's why you don't just breathe. Go outside, touch some grass, breathe that fresh air. Don't just breathe the inside contents of your house. Don't just breathe your fart smells and your sweat glands that are coming off and floating around in the air. Whatever science tells you about that kind of stuff, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm just an autistic guy trying to do YouTube. I like to go outside. I particularly like going outside. In fact, this has devolved into me doing long walks, in which case, for these long walks, I would make it a bit of a productive one, and I'll take a trash bag with me and just start picking up some litter. That, breathing air, taking a little bit of walk, even talking to God if you're Christian like I am. I like to do that. I like to talk to God. And it brings me down to a very cool level. It just takes my mind off of everything. Everything. I just start to focus in on the moment. Whatever podcast, song, whatever it is that's going on in my ears, because, I usually like to walk around with headphones in my ears because it's a bit stimulating to, have something to listen to. Picking up trash, it makes me feel good. I'm doing something good for the community. And, after I've started doing it, I've started seeing more people come out and do it around the neighborhood. And that's freaking cool. However, the point I'm trying to get at is that all of this that I do, the long walks, picking up the trash, listening to music, listening to podcasts, whatever it may be at that moment, talking to God, it all takes my mind off my problems. And that's where you want to start. Is that you want to start to take your mind off the problems before they start to overlap and get you to this point where there is no coming back down until you're hitting yourself or doing something absolutely ridiculous that makes you sit down in the mirror and go, wow, I really wish I didn't act like that. You don't have to act like that. Autism does not control your life. Autism does not control my life. You see, autism doesn't really control anything any one of us do. In fact, you can take control of it. You could say, no, I'm not freaking out today. We're going outside. We're going to touch some grass. We're going to take off our socks. We're going to take off our shoes. I had that backward. If you're the kind of person that wears socks over your shoes, you're weird. But you're going to take off your socks, you're going to take off your shoes, and you're going to soak your feet in the grass. You're going to sink it into the dirt. And in some cases, this is called grounding. In my case, it's called, I don't know, calm down. It does help a lot. And, or maybe you just want to lay down in the grass, that's fine too. I mean, grass makes me heckin' itchy. Like, I can't do that. However, I do enjoy nice weather, specifically a cool breeze. That's kind of why I like long hair. I got the breeze just flowing through my hair. And it's super nice. Sorry, I got distracted because I heard there was somebody in my front yard, and I thought that he meant that there's somebody in my front yard creating chaos. Okay, well, not my front yard, it's my stepdad's front yard. But the point is, I thought there was somebody in the front yard committing chaos. I was like, oh, do I need to go down, chaw somebody in the throat? Give them a good old chow. You don't have to let yourself get to such a point, or you don't have to let, a disability of all things control what you do and what you say. So I do want you guys to keep something in mind as I'm talking about autism, and I'm talking about how autism affects me. It's how it affects me specifically. I'm talking about my experiences so you guys could, possibly understand. For those who have autism and don't quite understand the disability, you can hear it from somebody who has it and is sharing their experience with quite the understanding of how it all works. Or, maybe you're a parent, your kid just got diagnosed with autism, or they're showing signs of autism. You just quite don't know, how to deal with it. Well, I I really hope these videos help you at least understand a little bit. However, autism affects every single person differently. Everyone. Like I've said in my last video, I've been in a social skills class full of autistic people from all different levels of the spectrum. Having these little inner burps. Very uncomfortable. Every last person I've seen in that social skills class is different in some form of way. We all express some kind of common traits. We all struggle with understanding something. We all need a either simpler explanation, or we just need somebody to slam the meat down on the table and just give it to us full. Autism affects each individual differently. And there's no real way to tell what's going to work with that person when it comes to handling autism. Honestly, it's more of a thing you gotta do with like trial and error. Like playing an old video game like the original Legend of Zelda. You gotta crack the code. Our minds like puzzle pieces that even we don't understand. And to piece it all together is quite the jigsaw puzzle. But the biggest thing and the biggest way you could help somebody like myself is by patience, understanding, and acceptance. I can't tell you how many times I've told somebody I've had autism and they get frustrated when I just don't learn something. Of course, I'm not going to learn it right off the bat. It takes time. It takes an explanation. I have a complex mind that thinks of complex things, even in the most simple of situations. And this is how it becomes very easy for me to misunderstand or overread something because I look at a situation or I look at a puzzle. Video games, for example. I've said it before, you can see it on my channel. I love video games. I love to play them. And some of the video games I love to play the most are puzzle games and RPGs. Now, usually with puzzle games, it takes a lot for me to get through it, especially the more tame games like, maybe the older Legend of Zelda games where you had some simple puzzles. Ocarina of Time, for example, there was a lot of times where, I would overthink a puzzle. I would think that I would have to do this and then that, and then I would have to do this, and then I got to do that to solve it, when it's just a simple turn of a shape. I flip a triangle around. Done. Done. I drag a cube, like, across the room. Done. Sometimes I think games are set up this way just to throw the person off, where they look a little bit more complicated than how they are. But I still wanted to use it as an example because this can happen in the most basic of situations, most basic of puzzles, where I'm just overthinking an extremely simple process. Which is why I say you gotta, like, walk away, go outside, touch some grass, breathe that fresh air. Because when you take your mind off these problems and you come back to them, you're now coming back to them with a much fresher mind, a much slower pace, and that alone makes it easy. And then you look at say the video game puzzle you've been stuck on, and you figure out it's just as simple as switching places, or switching 2 blocks around, and you're just sitting there like, why couldn't I have solved this before? Well, because you're overthinking, silly. And these are situations that I'm always caught up in because of autism, because this is how autism affects me. Now, I honestly don't know what to say about those who are a little bit lower on the scale, though I try to understand them the best I can, because that's all I really want when I talk to people. I want people to better understand who I am as an autistic person, especially the people who are, trying to teach me something, or trying to train me in a certain situation. I want them to understand that I'm autistic. I'm not going to get everything right off the bat. You're going to have to. So, as I was saying, I just want people to understand that, it takes time for me to really learn something. When you got to teach me something, you got to teach it to me slow and one step at a time, which is why I do best when teaching myself through manuals or books, or step by step guides, because not only is that step by step format well organized and keeps my mind on track of the task at hand, but I also learn the best that way, because rather than learning everything I need to know at once, like, it's very hard for me to keep up with rundowns. You can't just walk me through a place and be like, this shovel digs and this hangs here, and that's made out of whatever the heck. Or you take me through a factory and you say, all right, these conveyor belts do this, you need to do that, 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 that. You can't just give me a rundown. You have to, stand with me. You have to give me the step-by-step process. Or I'm just not going to understand, even if the task is easy. Now, oftentimes when it comes to cases like, guidebooks or maybe even cleaning dishes or, cleaning a certain area, just cleaning in general. That's where I have the most experience in cleaning. This is the occasion where you just kind of got to let me do it myself. And I mean, yeah, you still got to give me the, the good old 1-2 step, but once you give me that step-by-step process and I really know what I'm doing, you got to just let me kind of do it. Can't really micromanage me. And the problem with micromanaging comes from, people like my in-laws, where they got to be up my alley telling me how to cook food. You got to cook the bacon at 5, and you have to do it this way because I say you need to do it this way. No, I'm going to cook the bacon at 7 because it's coming out perfect. It's got that crisp golden brown. The way I make bacon comes out this crisp golden brown. It's not too chewy, but it's also not too hard. It's that perfect balance, that right in between. Despite it being perfect, I would have my in-laws up my butt like, no, you got to do it this way. No, you got to cook it at 5 because it cooks slower. It doesn't need to cook slower. It's cooking just fine the way I'm cooking it. However, my point with micromanaging is that it makes me extremely overwhelmed. And, it gets me to this point where I'm like, hey, just let me do it. Now, granted, that micromanaging somebody is just kind of an annoyance in general. Anyone who's being micromanaged would get annoyed, especially if they're already doing the job perfectly, like making bacon in that perfect middle ground where it's not too chewy, but it's also not too crunchy, and it's this crisp golden brown that, people just love. But it overwhelms me, and it makes my thoughts stack, and don't make my thoughts stack because then I'm gonna cry. Anyways, I think that's all I really want to cover. This is, like I said, this is a personal experience. This isn't for something that you need to take at face value. Don't watch this video and instantly think that every autistic person thinks the way I do. Because no, we don't. We don't. As I hate loud noises and I hate bright lights, like the sun here. There are autistic people who love loud noises and love bright lights, and that's just their mojo. As my mojo is quite the opposite. So that's all I really want to cover. I hope you guys do learn something from this. I do enjoy talking about it. It does get it off my chest. I hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like. Tell me about yourself. Are you autistic? Is somebody you know autistic? Tell me about them. Tell me your experiences. I want to know about you. How do you handle autism? How does it affect your life? And how are you dealing with it? Just tell me a story in the comments. If you don't want to, type it all out, make a video yourself. I can't be the only one talking about my experiences. So, that's all I really want to say. Stay saucy, guys. I'll see ya.